everybody. Welcome back to another Tearing It Up episode. This is a really special one. I know I say that a lot, but if you're only listening and you can't see, well, maybe go find the video for this because we are recording on a boat in the middle of Lake Tahoe on a beautiful August morning. So it is absolutely like glass out here. Again, if you're watching, just a little landscape shot of where we're at. And then my beautiful, amazing guest, Alenka. Last name?
Vrecek.
I didn't want to butcher that. You know all out there that I would have. So I have been following Alenka for a couple years now since I got her book. She rides,
Chasing dreams across California and Mexico.
Yes, this is why I love it in person too. It's like, okay, right on you. I picked up this book. I'm pretty sure it was at Alpenglow in Tahoe City when I had gone in there one day, just kind of perusing, checking things out, and I saw it. I actually think I was repping for Dovetail at the time, and Alpenglow was one of my accounts. So I went in there to talk some Dovetail stuff, and then I saw the book. I was like, I gotta, walk out of here with something. Read the book, and that is really what has made bikepacking stick in my mind since. And if you've been listening a while, you know I've been talking about gravel biking and bikepacking, and I've got this big, dream ride set up in my head. And yeah, I'm still, working that out. But it's such an honor to be here today with you to talk about this because I'd heard about bikepacking before, but reading your story was really what made me believe that I could do it at any stage or state in life. I don't have to have this huge, history or experience with it. Obviously, we have to be smart about our planning and everything, right? We're not just going to jump off the couch and go. We're going to learn some things and figure it out, but we also are going to figure it out along the way. So this is, been a couple years since I've talked to you initially.
How time flies.
Time flies, but I've really been thinking too to myself that everything works out when it should, because had we had done this 2 years ago, first of all, the podcast wasn't really where it's at today with just quality or anything. And we would not have probably been on a boat. It was November when I reached out, and I'm like, the timing of this couldn't be better, even though it's 2 years later than when we initially started talking.
That kind of segues us right into, I really believe in serendipity. And when things are ready to happen, they will happen. And we lead into it, right, with our thought process. And then life just happens when we start thinking certain ways and we have certain goals. As soon as that idea gets into our mind, then life just takes us there. And another thing that's really good to do, which is put things down on paper, write things down somewhere so that they will come back at you. Because if we just think about things, then they just float away.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I first wrote the idea about riding my bike from here to the tip of Baja Peninsula, I wrote it down on a little pocket book of Rumi, that I wanted to ride my bike. But at that time in my life, my kids were still very young. I was just going through divorce. And it wasn't until 15 years later when that idea that I conceived, that I wrote down, that it kept staring at me. And then, as you know, through the book that you read, a bunch of other things avalanched into my life, and I saw my life just slipping away. I was like, okay, this is it. Am I going to just talk about something, or am I going to do it? And in a sense, not just to reveal too much about what I did write about in the book, cancer did give me the permission, because the last thing I wanted to do was to have regrets.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't have regrets, because the life just keeps going and going and going. And pretty soon it's another Thursday for a garbage day. And we go, oh my God, did a week just go past again? So yeah, we got to go for it. And like you said in introduction, it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. And the purpose of my book was really to inspire people, no matter where you are in life, no matter what challenges you have, it's never too late to just go do something a little crazy and on the edge because that's what makes it special.
I love all of that, and it's something that, like a recurring theme on the podcast really is like, don't wait. Obviously, we, empathize and recognize the times and phases of life where you have to for whatever, maybe it's financially or young kids or something. And there's not everyone can just like jump out and go do things, but yet also you really do have to try to keep some of these things front of mind or, you know, like take the jump a little bit. You have to go for it as much as you can, and it might be just little steps towards those things at a time. If it's financially and, I'm, like, preaching to myself on this, it's like little pennies in a jar, right? Doing the step you can along the way to be able to make that thing happen, but you just have to always work at those things that you want and you can't let it slip away. I love the idea of too writing it down, manifesting something we talk about a lot too. Actually, one of my best friends just bought me a new notebook that's called like the title is Manifest That Shit. And I'm like, yes, this is me. And I've written some things down before. I have tons of notebooks and whatnot, but I'm in this phase of life right now where I think actually believing the power of it rather than just kind of listening like, okay, they said write it down and I wrote it down. But like still somewhere in there not having the true belief that it could happen. And I feel like I've made that change and I'm actually like writing it down and have the like positive outlook of like, no, this will happen and can happen and I'm gonna make it happen because that really is where it like un unlocks everything. But then there's also the things in life, like you mentioned, that kind of kick you in the ass and they're like, okay, if you want to do this, you got to do it now. So
But I think the message that I also, you and I are from different generation. You're more the age of my kids, and you have to find a balance.
Mhm,
A lot of the people I understand that, you don't necessarily, I don't have 7 years to go around the world.
mhm,
Would I want to do that? Absolutely. Can I do it? Not at this stage of my life. So the goals, even though they might be out there,
mhm.
also have to be obtainable.
Yeah.
And it has to be something realistic.
Mhm,
A lot of adventures books that we read is like, okay, am I going to set the record of climbing all 14, 8,000 meter mountains? Not anymore. That's something maybe that back in a day I wanted to do, but I had other priorities. This mountain bike trip that I did, even though I had zero experience for mountain bike packing, and at that time, which was really not that long ago, it was about 6, 7 years ago. Bike packing was not as mainstream as it is becoming now. I had to figure out a lot of things. I only had a regular mountain bike, which I used Ibis Mojo 3. So I had to customize a lot of little tiny spaces to equip my bike on. But, again, if once you start in that direction, once you take that first step out of your comfort zone, then everything else will follow.
mhm.
And it's not to say that I didn't have other experiences, though. Would I say that anybody can do it? Yeah, if you set your mind to it, absolutely. But you also have to maintain that self-reliance. You cannot count on somebody else to come or I didn't want to do that, even though I could have bailed many times along the way. I set myself up also uh, in a situation that I had to just count on myself and my own abilities. I believed that, especially the kind of upbringing that I had, which was a lot of mountaineering and mountain climbing. and skiing and a lot of wilderness experience that I had. And I'm very grateful to where I grew up and how I grew up in my home country of Slovenia. Um, it was always my dad who would go, okay, the bed covers are off at 6 o'clock in the morning. He would open up the window in the middle of the winter, and we had to get out and either go skiing or mushroom hunting or climbing mountains or always outdoors. And this is it. This is where I ended up all those years later, but it was because I always had that inside of me. And we are human body is about 60% water, right? So that attracts us. Here we are in the middle of the largest, deepest lake in this part of the hemisphere, and we are surrounded by this big, massive mountains, and the mountains have their own gravity. And I grew up near the big body of water, and I grew up in the big mountains in the Alps, in Julian and Karawanken Alps. And when I came here, the water and the gravity of the mountains immediately grounded me here. And you feel it. You
Mhm.
feel the energy. And anyway, I probably went off a little bit on what we were talking about. Create our own destiny. Yes, life is unfair. A lot of the times, life is changing, and we constantly have to pivot. The things that we had planned maybe will not happen, but if we redirect, if we pivot into some different direction, then we can keep on moving forward. And yeah, life will always challenge us, but I also believe that nothing is given to us. We create our own path, and it keeps going until the very last day, when we should not have regrets for not doing something we really want to do. So that's kind of my old age wisdom. I think I have earned some of that wisdom, and I'm really glad that I can pass it on with my thoughts and experiences that I was able to put together in the book She Rides. And that's my message
It-
in short.
I feel like, honestly, obviously, if we're going to talk so much more, but I'm like, that was like a mic drop. That was like just so good. And I think something that everybody, we all like need to hear and need to remind ourselves of often. Like a lot of these conversations that I have, whether it's with a guest or a solo episode, or when we do our TNA episodes, which is with my good friend Amber, and we're just kind of shooting the shit on everyday life. It's like talking these things out, reminding ourselves of the things that we need to do personally. And it's just amazing. Like I said, the serendipitousness of, I believe in serendipity for sure. And you're hearing things when you need to hear them. Things happen when they need to happen. And it can all be, I feel like right now, and I don't know, maybe it is kind of a generational thing. You could speak to it maybe of how you felt at maybe like a different age or stage of life. Like if it's something everyone goes through, or like I said, just like where this generation is now, but like everything feels so forced always. And I think that's because of societal pressures. You're like always being told, you should do this, you should do that. Like, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about your background, but before we get there, I mean, just the fact of when you did take your bike ride and not having like all this bike packing experience, well, what we would hear is like, you should have this amount of experience ahead of time, or you shouldn't do it because you're of this age or phase in life. And that is so hard to break out of sometimes.
Well, look at John Muir, an explorer, a pioneer of the Sierra Nevada, a conservationist, writer, um, biologist, historian. You, he had no experience before that. He had a donkey in a backpack. And he came with nothing across the country into this paradise that he saw that was a paradise. And speaking of this generation, you know, we can easily, on a way over here, we talked about, you know, there's a lot of tourists that come to enjoy this beautiful place. And I think for us who live here, we really need to be the stewards to preserve this for future generations, just like John Muir spearheaded that movement at that time when logging was out of control and, you know, they were coming into this area, basically raping it. And tourism in many ways does the same thing, but what are we? We are visitors here as well.
Mhm.
We have to take care of what we have in this beautiful environment. So that's my pledge too. That, you know, little things to keeping Tahoe true and have things in balance. It's very difficult to talk about things being in balance in today's day, and we can be fearful for a lot of things, but it does start with us. It's little things that go a long ways. And the other thing, which I think that your generation is actually really savvy in a sense that I think for what I see more in our little bubble here. And yes, we do live in a bubble
We sure do.
in many, many ways. We
Mhm.
have our challenges and it's expensive. And to live here, it's very costly. But there's a difference between the price and the value. And let's say if you compare, I'll make a couple of comparisons. One is you buy an expensive painting because of an image, because the artist is a famous artist, so you can have that piece of art, right? That's price. Does a painting that your 5-year-old granddaughter made, it didn't cost you anything, but it has the value.
Mhm.
If you and I were drinking a $400 bottle of wine right now, we would go, "Oh, this is such a nice wine because it costs so much money." But if we were just having here a meaningful conversation with a $6 Malbec or whatever, a good wine or a nice California wine that you can get for $9.99, we would have a value because our conversation would be that much more meaningful because of it. So we have to find that balance in life.
Mhm.
And you know, it's really amazing how quickly we fall back into it, that I need, and we are constantly bombarded by that in our society because everything is valued by what we have. And yes, we are lucky that we are able to be here in the middle of the lake on the boat. Um, we could have also been on a paddleboard or just sat on a shore or in the woods. Again, it doesn't have to cost money to have the value.
Mhm.
Um, and on my mountain bike ride, which on for 2 months, I was out camping, and you get by with so little. And you learn that the value is what you put in yourself, the miles that you cover on a daily basis, the people that you meet along the way who are generous to you. And one of the things that I have learned on my journey was, I hate to, you know, maybe sound cliche, but Steinbeck said, basically, in not quoting directly, but when you are in a need and in trouble, go to the people, the poor people. They will give you the most.
Mhm.
They will share and I saw that on my journey. The less people had, the more generous they were with their space, with their food, with how helpful they were, how protective they were as of me traveling by myself through the really rugged part of Mexico. Um, and the farther away I was from any civilization, the more I received in so many ways. And we have to step out of this everyday um, environment where you go, oh, I need that new car. And well, here we go more like I need that pair of skis, or
Yeah, the new
and
bike.
our bikes cost more than our cars, which is great.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. But do you really need that new couch? No, maybe you can just go pick up one on the side of the road or on the marketplace, and have that balance in life. So, we're at the stage, my husband and I right now, where you're still building your life, and we're accumulating all of our lives. We are accumulating things. Then you get to a point in your life where you go, I gotta get rid of all
Yeah.
that shit.
Purge.
I don't know if I can say that on your
Oh, yeah, you
podcast,
can say anything. We're pretty unfiltered.
um, but it's just you gotta purge, and it's so freeing. The less you have, the more you can go and enjoy life again. And there's freedom in that balancing act that we constantly. I'll tell you, I fell back into it pretty quickly. Oh my God, do I need this or do I need that? But at least I had that experience where
Mhm.
I can say now to myself, no, you know what? You really can ride. I still ride the same Ibis bike because it's so awesome and sturdy, and it's my beast, and I love my beast. Could I had bought a new bike already because mine is 6 years old? Yeah. Would it make me go ride more? Probably not.
Mhm.
Okay. Same thing. Like my bike was not necessarily, it was not a bike packing specific. Um, but people were bike packing around the world in previous century
Mhm.
and then some on the bikes that were like, okay, I can do it on my, speed, ultra incredible Ibis as well. So we got to just, and I think in the outdoor industry, it's kind of the same thing. Oh, you need this new and you need that new and you need this pair of shoes. And you know what? You can go hike in the same pair of shoes that you had 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And if you're going to just think that you keep needing new things, yes, that drives the economy, but that's exactly that approach. They keep trying to sell us more. And like I said, that's not to say that we don't love to get things.
Yeah.
I love getting new equipment for any kind of sport activity. Uh, but in the end of the day, too, it's not really going to matter how much your car cost,
Mhm.
how expensive and how big your house was. It will matter a lot more who the people were around you and what you did to earn the trust and love of those people.
So many amazing nuggets there. I mean, I love the conversation on cost and value too. That's something I've been diving into. Like values is something I've been diving into a lot, and like thinking about what mine are and kind of comparing like how I'm currently living. Is that aligning with what I say my values are? But what you said with like the wine, right? We could have a $6 bottle of wine right here or a $400 bottle of wine right here. And that $6 wine, it would probably taste the same as that $400 because the experience and the value and everything that it has. And it reminds me of like when you're camping, the simplest meal tastes so good, right?
Oh
Like a
yeah.
grilled cheese is just like so amazing. Or you go home though, or you're at home and it's like, this is the emergency meal, or, it's just like, it doesn't, it's not impressive and it doesn't taste as good. The value, the experience around it just matters so much, but I think we get caught up in cost in society and who has what, right? Like, oh, your friend maybe has the new thing, or I don't know, you just think it's going to be better, right? And so you want that, but I think it's so helpful just to tie experiences back to things again, before purchasing, because that, like, really can ground you, I think, and it's just I don't know. Like I said, values have just been high up on my list lately and really trying to think about them, especially when it comes to decision making in life, whether that's buying the new thing or, I don't know, jobs, just the activities at all. But I do wonder, I do want to talk about where the outdoors and biking and all that came into your life, without giving away, obviously too much from the book. We want you all to go out there, read it, listen to it. Like I said, it's been in my mind for years since I've read it, so I really want you guys to get the meat and and the potatoes from the book. But yeah, whatever you can share with us without, like I said, giving away all the stuff in the book about where it all started for you in life, in the outdoors activity, and the role that it played throughout these different stages and phases for you.
I think, obviously, my upbringing had a lot to do with it, growing up in the mountains, and my dad dragged us into the mountains, sometimes kicking and screaming, but and I did plenty of tantrums, but those are my favorite memories now. And I was a ski racer, which is how I ended up in Tahoe as well. Skiing is one of those sports that we have for life, and it opened up an awful lot of doors for me. I wasn't a great ski racer, but I was very passionate about skiing. And even later, when I was coaching skiing for many years in Squaw Valley, which is now Palisades, of course, and in Alpine Meadows, um, I always try to tell the parents of the kids who I was coaching is that let them just do it for joy of it. Very few racers will become the top racers, and it's difficult to do that, and it takes a special person to do it. And it's great that we have all that, but for so many kids that would be coming up into the program, I think it doesn't matter what the sport is. For me, it was always a vehicle to learn about life, about being pushing yourself. Again, you got to push yourself beyond your comfort limit. You also have to earn everything that you work so hard for. So having some level of success is very important, but so are the failures.
Mhm.
And I think today's parenting, and I'm not being critical of it, but we just have less kids too. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure that they are the best at what they can be. We don't have too many spare kids to experiment on, but it's not just the helicopter parenting. It's all that pushing type of a parenting instead of, I think our generation um, had an ability to be outdoors without supervision.
Mhm.
Um, and I admire my parents actually that they, I don't know if they were just naive but I mean, it's amazing that we survived. However, through that, when you're out there and you're scraping your knees and you're out there in the wilderness doing dumb stuff like my brother and I did. Oh my God, what a learning experience that was, right? You get lost in the woods, you find your way out. You get lost in the mountains, you get yourself back out there. You're dealing with the elements in the mountains. You learn survival skills. I crossed the Alps by myself as Julian Alps as a 17-year-old. And when my kids were at that age, I was like, oh, do I let you go out by yourself? Am I not worried if you're out there skiing and, in the big mountains, in the storms? I worry all the time about my kids. But I wanted to give my children in this environment the experience of nature and living in nature and living the active life. So the sports that I wanted my kids to be in, I wanted them to feel that joy and passion. And that's what gives you ability to deal with difficult moments in life. You know, when you are climbing the mountain and it's blizzard and you got tears running down your cheeks, and believe me, I've had plenty of tears in my life. And then you get to the top and you go, oh my God, I did this.
Mm-hmm.
I did it by myself. Nobody did it for me. And if we can give those kind of experiences to our kids, I think you cannot really teach them more in life, because then they will have those skills
Mm-hmm.
to cope with challenges. Life is always changing. We plan things and it's going to go, no, now you got cancer. It's all over.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? You just keep going, and you're fighting different kind of battle out there. But like I said, you know, we're preaching a little bit to the choir here in this environment, and we sometimes forget that not everyone has the ability to do that. But for those people, get on the bike,
Mm-hmm.
get into the park, get out of the house, go run a mile, go walk a mile.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it is. If it gives you those endorphins and, you know, it brings that energy and the heart back into what we are here for. And, you know, you can feel a little bit philosophical about it. What are we here for? I mean, we
Right.
are such a tiny little speck in the universe. And it's one of the things that my journey, and it wasn't easy by any means, but things in life shouldn't be easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that's what gives us value.
Yeah, we need that
Talked about, right?
adversity.
And when you are, like, even here, when you're in the middle of the lake and you're surrounded by all this is how you feel the part of the universe. And, you know, you created this for yourself, by yourself. And in that is the meaning. Because if you're just constantly looking for something big out there, it might not happen. You got to create those moments and recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
How often do we go through the day and we're busy and you forget to see little things? My parents used to drive me nuts. Oh my gosh. Look at how pretty that flower is. It's just like, and Mom, stop it. But now in those little moments, she gave me so much.
Yeah.
When she showed me, you know, a new bud on the rose that she cut, you know, in the morning. And, you know, we have to learn to have those moments around ourselves. And it goes the same way. You can see constantly the bad things.
Mm-hmm. Which is easy to do right now in the world that we're in, with things, all the things happening and the way the news is. It's like only showing us that, right? So it can be so easy to get sucked into only seeing or thinking about those
The
negative
negative.
things.
Yes. And I think today is that much more important that we step away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are very fearful times. Um, and uh, we have to take care of our own health. And we have to do things on a daily basis in our home environment that are going to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really easy to feel helpless right now.
Yeah.
But we don't have to feel helpless when we take charge of the things that we actually can control. Can you pick up the phone and call your congressman? Yes. And this is what we should do. We should do things on the level that we are able to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
We can watch what they're doing out there in the big world of politics, and we feel out of control.
Yeah.
But it's just like with other things in life, we have to kind of refocus on what we have control over. And that's what keeps us grounded.
Is that what you would say was the thing that made your choice of like solidifying your choice in doing the bike packing trip, that you were at a point, again, if I'm spoiling anything, like stop me in the book, but like, did you feel like you were at a point of not having any control at any other point in your life, that you're like, I can control this and I want to go do this by myself? Because even though we mentioned like community, and when you went on the bike trip, it was kind of like leaving community, but at the same time on that trip, you created a different kind of community for yourself. You were immersed in other communities, so you didn't leave it completely on the table. You went out and found different community. But yeah, tell us a little bit about like how how you've experienced those moments in life of not having control, and then what you've found or what you've done to like give you some of that feeling back.
Well, and you bring up a really good point because my life at that point was really spiraling out of control. And um, I wanted to symbolically also on the bike, I felt like I was pushing the bike. Just by that feeling of I'm moving forward, which can be looked at very symbolically because on the bike you are always moving forward.
Right.
The time is always moving forward. What I am going to do with the time that was very limited at that point, at least, I mean, I actually bought all this extra time. Who knows what's going to happen from here on? But yeah, I felt like I finally had control over my own actions. I didn't have all the doctor's appointments. Um, some of the medications that I was on, I quit cold turkey,
Wow.
just because I didn't have room on my, my bike to carry all the pills and
Potentially
everything.
not doctor recommended there, duh.
Well, but I don't want to get too out on the fringes. I was on a lot of muscle relaxers for my leg damage because it was constantly cramping. Um, I was kind of experimentally taking those drugs out of my system because I was on them for so long that um, I think the dopamine and the adrenaline that I was building kind of took over. Um, so, just by physical activity, I was also able to rid of all the, medications that at some point were helping me. And then I also realized, okay, I'm just being a zombie.
Control is just an interesting thing to me, and an interesting topic, because it's something that I feel like I struggle with and been faced with lately with certain, again, jobs or tasks, projects and things, and wondering to myself, like, do I hold on to control too much? There's the like letting go. So you're at this point of life where you feel like you have no control and you want to take back control. But then we have the other side where maybe it goes too far and now you can't let go of it. So throughout your trip, and you started this, let's also, for the audience, from Tahoe to the tip of Baja, how many miles?
It was 2,500 miles.
2,500 miles.
Yeah.
That is a lot of miles.
But it was, it wasn't so much in the mileage of it. It's what we don't think about. It's just because I rode my mountain bike in remote trails and, rough roads. It was also over all the Sierra ranges, which there are many. You go up and down. So it was, and then when I crossed the border at Tecate, which is where Sierra Divide ends, I rode the Baja Divide, which is also, Baja has huge mountains. So you're constantly climbing and descending, ascending, descending. And by the time I added up all the vertical feet that I climbed more than 4,800 vertical feet, which is 5.5 Mount Everest.
Oh, wow.
From ground zero to the summit. And it was all the climbing that I didn't know that I was going to do, to be honest. At some point, you almost start enjoying riding up the hill because it gives you even more time to think
Oh, I can't wait till
about
I get to
life.
that point because I'm not enjoying that.
I know, and I believe me, there's times that even if I just go on, Mount Watson, which is that mountain right there, it's like, oh my God, how did I do this? And on the average, I would climb easy 3, 4,000 vertical feet. And covered, anywhere from just 30 miles to well over 70 or 80 miles a day, which doesn't seem like a lot in a sense, but on a mountain bike
Mm-hmm.
that's loaded with, 50 pounds of camping gear and food, and especially water, which, that's 1 liter of water has a lot of weight, 2.2 pounds. So they were remote sections, especially when I started riding in Baja, where temperatures were well over 100 degrees. You need a lot of water. You're in a desert, it just gets sucked right out of you, which, I definitely had some instances where it was kind of a touch and go situation when I was running out of water.
Oof.
And, you're 3 days out from any resupply. So I was tested, definitely. But, speaking of serendipity, out of nowhere, this pickup truck came and two guys in camo gear jumped out of the truck. And I'm going, oh, shit, are they going to cut my head off
Yeah.
or are they going to help? And it turns out that they were a resupply truck for Baja 1000 race, which is an endurance dirt bike and dirt cars race, which is a world renowned. And they were supplying the stations up in the mountains there around Catavenia at that time. And they gave me water that I was completely out of. I had 60 miles to go and I had half a bottle of water left. And it was that morning at 10 o'clock in the morning was 106 degrees, which was the temperature was still climbing. So that was, again, serendipity. I don't know, whatever you want to, who came, to save me. You can become religious at some points too, but
Yeah.
which, it's a different kind of spirituality,
Yeah.
and I had plenty of those moments where I felt there's something else out there.
Mm.
There was something else out there looking over me. And sometimes you kind of just have to believe that, there's something that's going to help save you. But I had to save myself, really, to
Yeah.
get myself out of there. So it's a combination. And I think believing if there's, higher forces, higher universe that's all connected in some way. But at the end, it really comes to believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And having that confidence in yourself, building that inner fire. That's something that was the core, the crux of my journey, why I needed to go on that journey. At my age, at that time, I was 54. I was feeling dead inside. I didn't have that passion, and nothing scared me more than not having that fire in me. And I wanted to wake it up. I wanted to wake myself up. I call it a radical departure. For me, that was necessary. I needed to go away to be by myself, to create my own adventure, to create my own path again, so that I could come home and be a better mother, grandmother, a better wife. I just wanted to be that good person that has confidence in myself. And that is what the ride gave me, because every day there's something that can kind of kick you off that balancing rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have that in my background now. I can say to myself, geez, if I was able to do that, then I can get through another day that's difficult. Um, and we need that inspiration.
Yeah.
And if I can give that inspiration through my story, and if I can just bring you back to that, balance in life, or give you the inspiration to, you know what? If she can do it with everything that she's gone through, and there's a lot of people that go through a lot harder times than I'm not, saying this, look at me,
Mm-hmm.
but it does take a little bit of a push sometimes that we can say, I can do this.
Yeah.
I gotta step out of my comfort zone. Yes, it's going to be difficult. It's not supposed to be easy. Life is not easy. What we do with those situations that are difficult, that are devastating, they are a loss of marriage, a loss of a child, a loss of a parent, disease that we have no control over. I have no control over, in a sense, to what will happen in the next few years with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
How do I deal with that? I have this in my pocket now.
Mm-hmm.
I have created something that I didn't have. Just by going on that journey, I showed myself what I was capable of, that I didn't know I was capable of. Um, so, there's days that I feel like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? What am I doing here? Why is this so difficult? And nothing is going your way. And then you just take a step back, you take a deep breath, and you go, okay, I can do this because I am doing this already.
Yeah. It goes back to what you said with parenting, right? And letting your kids go through tough things to learn that they can do it. They carry that with them throughout life. I mean, it's why I think activity and sports and all that are so, so important, because you have to learn adversity at a young age, because life isn't easy. As you get older, at some point you're going to be out on your own or not have to do something on your own. And if you don't know that you can get through it, well, that makes it so, so much harder. And to the point where some people like do shut down and they don't do it, and they don't live a life that is true to them because they are like way too scared to test themselves to see if they can. And even though you did something like this and you got through it, you didn't think you could. I'm sure there's other things that happen in life that you're like I said, different struggles in different ways that are going to make you question, like, can I get through this? But again, you can dig deep. You have it in you to get through the next thing. But if you never, ever have that, never challenge yourself at all,
I think
you
one
won't
of the
know.
biggest fears we have in life is the fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd rather not even go try because you're going to say, "Ma, I can't do that." Or what if I don't succeed? Or people are going to laugh at me
Mm-hmm.
or people are going to say, well, that was dumb. Why did you go, spend all the money or put all the effort into something? Why did you leave your job that was such a good paying job just to go be a ski bum? And again, you create your own path. No matter what kind of failure we learn, as a matter of fact, so much more from failure
Mm-hmm.
of because you fail at something, but then, oh, wow, guess what? Now this other door has opened for me. I never knew that I would be able to write a book. The journey, because I was writing a blog and people loved the way my voice connected with their own story of life, they were able to see themselves in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, you got to write a book. I'm going, sure, yeah, right. I don't know how to write. Or at the same time, I was going to say, I also said, sure, I'll write a book. And I didn't know anything about that. But then you just go and you work hard at it. And then you realize, wow, I just discovered my new identity.
Mm.
I didn't know I was going to be a writer. And unless you put yourself into that situation, you won't know.
Yeah.
So getting over the fear of failure or what other people are going to think is just one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself. And yeah, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's not supposed to be easy. Life is not just fun all the time. And, you know, there's this lady, I came to this rancho, and it was El Coyote Rancho, way up in the San Martir Mountains, beautiful big mountains. And this older lady was saying, well, is it fun? I said, no, it actually really isn't fun. Do you cry? I do cry, but not because I'm scared or because I'm alone. I cried really actually more tears of joy that you're doing this.
Oh, that's
Wow,
incredible.
this is just like you created this very moment. And it was so rewarding when you do something that nobody did for you and you've earned it. You know, you go climb Lac right there, or Rubicon, or Dick's Peak right there, or any one of those. You'll sweat and you'll curse and you'll sometimes cry, which I did many times when I was following my husband up the hill and he was so much faster than me. I'm going, God damn it. I am so out of shape. I'm suffering. I can hardly breathe. I hate this. But then you get to the top and it is immediately forgotten.
Yeah. Yes.
You sit on a top and you go, this is why I'm doing it. I did it. And then, of course, you get awesome turns on the way down.
Yeah.
Or when you climb with a bike and you get this 5-mile downhill and you're flying and you're in the zone and you're just going 50 miles an hour with a loaded mountain bike and you're feeling like a daredevil and you're going, life is good. This is what I was looking for. I feel alive.
It is the true ups and downs, right? Something we talk about a lot with the peaks and the valleys, and, you know, gotta have the bad to really enjoy the good. How fun would that downhill feel if you hadn't just like suffered to get to the top? You know, people will argue like the down will always feel good, whether I had to work for it or not, but which I can agree. But again, it makes it that much sweeter. The value, right? Back to the value again. The value is so much more when you worked your tush off to get there and know that you did it. The pride just, it evokes so many feelings and emotions. And I think those are the things that, especially when you end on a down, right? Then that's the thing that makes you do it again. You're on that next ride climbing and you're like, why did I decide to do this after that last one? It's like, oh yeah, because they ended on that down. That was so fun. And I was like, I'll do it again. And during the up, you're questioning everything, right? And like we can put this into so many different ways and in different parts and aspects of life that you got to stop and remind yourself, like, why am I doing this right now?
Yeah.
Looking ahead, right, and knowing what it's for. So sometimes you do need to know, you got to know your whys. You got to know your whys, your values, and face those fears and challenges and just test yourself. But like I said, sharing these stories, hearing these stories is so important to help us take those chances and leaps. And I question a lot whether I'm going to be able to do this trip that I have in my mind that I want to plan, because I haven't done a super long ride or even bike packed overnight, right? But like I said, your story coming back to it is always the thing that I'm like, I can do it. Alenka said I could do it. She did it. And
You can
that's,
do it.
yes.
You can do it. Yeah.
Just having people like you share your story, it just does so much. It's a big ripple effect into the world, and I appreciate you sharing your story so much, giving us this beautiful day out on the lake that is still just, feels untouched in ways, still glassy, not many people out here, creating these experiences. And as we kind of wrap up here, you have given the audience so much and so many nuggets, but is there anything else that you want to like end on in how taking it, it doesn't have to be related to the bike packing trip, it could be, but just where you're at now and what you might be carrying from all your experiences to keep you moving forward.
Well, to keep it simple, it did give me back my confidence. It opened up a lot of new doors. And I think at my age, too, when you're able to build that new identity um, and find passion for something that you want to learn more, um, I think we can finish up on a note looking around us here. You just take the plunge.
Oh,
Take the plunge into that cold water, deep water. It's dark and deep and blue and scary, but just take a deep plunge and just go for it.
oh, beautiful. I love that. And I feel like that was a hint. So, y'all, we might be done like talking here, but stay tuned on the video because we will be taking a plunge into this deep, blue, beautiful, probably, a little chilly maybe,
Live
lake.
crazy, live on the edge, and just enjoy every moment you have in your life because you never know what's going to happen. And life really is, as much as cliche as that sounds, it's short, it's sweet, and life is what you make of it.
Beautiful. And we love a cliche on the podcast. Can't get enough of them because they're so true. And thank you guys all out there for listening. Alenka, real quick, just tell people where they can find you. If there's any like social media or the book, anything like that you want to share.
Well, I have my website, and that's just my first name, last name, Alenka Vrecek. But maybe I don't know if you're going to
Yep.
be able to
Show notes.
do the links.
Exactly.
My book, which was published by She Writes Press, is distributed by Simon and Schuster. And you can order it from any of the local bookstores in Truckee. It's obviously in Word After Word, Alpenglow, and anywhere the books are sold. It's also in all the libraries. And I do have an audiobook out there that's distributed by Spotify or on Audible as well. But yes, of course, you can buy it on Amazon. But I really like to tell people to go into their local bookstores. But yeah, just go for it. And thanks for having me on your show, Taryn. And go on that trip of your
Yes.
lifetime.
Thank you.
And you too.
Yes, yes. Thank you all again. Check the show notes for all the links to follow Alenka or to get the book. Just scroll down there. And thank you again. Hope you enjoyed the view and stay tuned for our plunge. Okay. From Alenka's words.
We're doing this.
Take the plunge.
Take
all
the
right.
plunge.
Here we go. Woo! Oh, it's beautiful. So blue.
It's the big blue, all right. Picture defensive.
Take the plunge, buddy.